Welcome to Sex on the Floor podcast. This podcast was created to help educate the public about problems with sex and intimacy and how this is tied to both physical and mental aspects. Hosted by myself, Dr. Molly Hart, a passionate pelvic floor physical therapist and owner of Pelvic Balance Physical Therapy, and by Dr. Katie Schubert, a phenomenal sex therapist and owner of Cypress Wellness Center. We are here to have a good time. We're here to keep it real with you all and to educate along the way. I'm so excited for you to join us. We strive to help many relationships prosper in fun, safe, and healthy intimacy. While listening to the show, please remember that this information is not meant to diagnose or treat any medical conditions. Please speak with your medical provider for all things related to your healthcare. Hello, all. Welcome back to Sex on the Floor podcast. It is Dr. Molly Hart here, and we've got Dr. Katie Schubert. And today we are going to be talking about exercise.
Yes, and we were motivated, inspired to talk about this topic today because we just logged on and saw each other, and I explained to Molly that I had just gotten done. Well, I had it, oh God, this was like 3 hours ago. I got done working out and I've just been going all morning. So I haven't had a chance to shower or do anything to make myself pretty. And Anyway, I had told Molly that something that she said years ago stuck with me. And Molly, I'll let you say it because I still can't remember what age you were talking about or what specifically you said, but it motivated me to get my butt in gear and continue working out because I don't want to go downhill.
Yeah. So Katie said, which I love this, we were just sharing things that people sometimes say that just stick in your head. And it's so random. Sometimes it's the most random things. But she goes, you had said something that at a certain age, everything starts to go downhill unless we do something about it, which is strength training. So what I had specifically said is what we know from the research in general, both for males and females, is around age 30 is when we just start to naturally decondition. So if you think about it, when you are younger, you're getting stronger and bigger and stronger and bigger. Teenage years for us actually as women is some of our top peak years, athletic performance wise, that later teens. 20s are pretty good for us as women. But when we hit 30, and I know all of you women out there who are 30 or older can relate to this, like I don't even have to tell you, things start to change. And if you're not strength training, you are absolutely 100%, you are deconditioning and your body is getting weaker. Women, this is really important to understand too, is men age linearly. So it's a very streamlined aging process for men. There's no big hiccups. That is not the case for women. Our bodies are so different from men, but we actually, because of our menstrual cycle, once we hit around age 35, that's actually when perimenopause starts to occur. And so from 35 to about 51, we are all in perimenopause as women. We really don't start to have most women don't have a lot of symptoms of perimenopause until about 45. So 45 to 51, just so you all know, ladies who's listening and men who are listening, 45 to 51 is probably one of the hardest timeframes for any woman to go through. We do not talk about it enough. There are a lot of changes that start to occur. And I know people will joke, but like hot flashes are one. Anxiety, I think, is vastly under talked about. Anxiety skyrockets during this time. And that's because our estrogen and progesterone during perimenopause start to really have their own mind and they go up and down in a more chaotic way. And they're not following the rhythmic cycle of our typical menstrual cycle. And so when that happens, estrogen's highly tied to our serotonin. And our serotonin is one of our feel-good hormones. It's one of our like stabilizers for our mental mindset. Estrogen's highly tied to insulin. And so we see a huge increase in fat storage and adipose storage. We see a big increase in diabetes for women around this age because of it. So there's a lot of thyroid issues, all these issues that start to pop up because of our hormonal cycle that we go through. So we don't go through a linear aging cycle. Okay, we go through, we're aging, and then we actually have a like not so fun time during that perimenopause time. And then once we hit menopause, well, now our estrogen and progesterone's gone, but at least we're stable because it's
Mhm.
not this massive, crazy, unknown, unpredictable. I mean, imagine your period. Like we all know when we're on our period. How do you feel when you're on your period, Katie? 2 days before your period, how do you feel?
Like I want to murder my husband.
Yeah, like we just are angry, we're grumpy, and then you're on your
Yeah.
period. Are you tired? You feel weaker when you're on your
Yeah.
period. But
Yeah.
at least we know what's going on. We're like, oh, I'm about to start my period. I can track it. And now imagine all those hormonal fluctuations randomly.
Yeah.
Like you don't know when it's coming. Like that's kind of, to me, that's been my observation because I'm not there yet. That's been my observation of my perimenopausal women.
Yeah.
So men and women, we all start to age around 30, deconditioning, but women during that time frame, like we have more reason to counteract that. We have to exercise. We have to strength train. The research shows for perimenopausal women, strength training, hit, so high intensity interval training, like true hit, not like pretend hit where you're really just doing a cardio class, and then plyometrics. Plyometrics is like powerful jumping. Those three things are vital to success for us to improve our body and help us through that time frame of perimenopause. Not cardio. Cardio is good, but cardio is actually pretty inflammatory to us during that time frame. Um, and we can, I'll even get even a little bit further into that, but I want to kind of like, so there's that.
Mhm.
That was a little rant. I probably went on that slightly stuck with you, but I want to go back to what Katie had said to me when we first started talking today. Is she just joined a new CrossFit group, right?
Yeah.
But what has been your journey so far of joining 2 months ago?
Oh, so I was telling Molly that I started about a month ago. I started about a month ago and I went 2 weeks consistently, but if you haven't done weights for a while and then you do weights the next day, the next few days, like you can't walk, you can't go upstairs, you can't sit down on a toilet, like it really hurts. And I got over that hump and then our whole family got sick. So I was out of the gym for another week. So this is my first week back, and I have to do it all over again, where I have to like brace myself to sit down on the toilet. And it's not like a fun feeling, but it's the feeling that you get whenever you get back into it.
Yeah, yep. And I was telling Katie, I was like, get used to it because if you are a mom who, not even a mom, I shouldn't even say mom, but like, I would say it's more for moms because we get sick all the time because our kids are little and they're always sick. In general, if you were somebody who worked out consistently all the time, back in your teenage years, back in your 20s, and you really had no hiccups, like that's cool. That's how it was for me. I had no hiccups. I could easily go to the gym. I did. But then when you have a family and you have all these responsibilities and you get sick and you have this, and that applies to men and women, like this is not just mom specific. You are going to have a million things that are going to interrupt you with your workout routine. Um, some people's mindset is to push through and to just keep the routine and the habit, and they push and they push and they push and they just do it no matter what. I don't agree with that personally. I will tell you, like, that's not my experience thus far as a medical provider. I don't agree with doing that. It's really, really important. Exercise is a stressor to the body, and it is a needed stressor because if you are not exercising and not stressing your body, you are deconditioning. Okay, like 100% you're deconditioning. Um, But when we are already in a state of stress, like we're on our period, like that's a state of stress when you're on your menstrual cycle. If we are sick, if we're really sleep deprived because we haven't been getting any sleep and our kids are sick and they've been throwing up at night, like, name it, name the big stressors. You just moved. There's some big stressors we go through in life. We don't then want to really massively stress our body out more with exercise. So, what's important though is keeping a habit. Like keeping a habit is key because if you get rid of the habit, it is so hard to get going again. But that doesn't mean then we go, if I'm sick or if I'm on my menstrual cycle, I still keep my habit of going to the gym, but I don't go do strength training. So like I right now have been, it's another topic I want to get into is accountability of working out. And I'm going to leave that tangent to the side for a second. But when I'm in a stress mode, I still show up, but I do a yoga class. I do a body balance class. I do really calming stretching, or I'll just go for a walk. But I move my body. I just do it in a very calm, stretching, meditative way. Because what I found in the past, I would tell people to not work out, like don't work out when you're stressed, but then you interrupt the habit. And when you keep interrupting the habit, it makes it so hard to get going again. So that's been my hack. I don't ever suggest pushing through and working out when you're stressed though, because then you're actually harming your body. And believe it or not, you are actually then deconditioning your body as well. So there's two patterns that decondition your body. One is what's called fear avoidance, and it's when I just don't really stimulate my body. I stop doing stuff. There's probably a lot of people in that category. And again, like around age 30, like if you're not exercising, like you're just going downhill. I'm gonna be very frank with you. Um, the other one is called over underdoing. And I know, Katie, you probably get a lot of this where there's these typically type A personalities where we just like go, 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 go. And so we actually overdo more than we should for what our tissues can handle in that moment. And it'll lead to what I call like a flare or an underdoing period. And then you'll wake up. So let's pretend I'm sick and I go to my CrossFit class anyways. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep this routine. I promise you, you're going to wake up the next day and your body is going to be like, whoa, like hate itself. Like you're not going to feel good. And it's going to be hard to do the day-to-day things that you have to get done. And it'll last for about 3-ish days, actually. So, but I can keep pushing and keep having this over underdoing. That actually leads to deconditioning too. So the key is figuring out where is my tissue tolerance? What can I handle right now? How do I meet that? And consistently try to meet that on a daily basis. And that's going to change based on where you're at. And it's a matter of understanding yourself. So that was kind of a long rant, but
I have a question about something that
yeah.
you said kind of in the beginning of that long rant. You were talking about between the ages of 35 and 51, our hormones beginning to get wonky. I'm kind of wondering, I don't know the science of this, I know that you do. I'm kind of wondering whether or not consistent exercise helps keep those hormones more stable and less wonky.
Mm.
Do you know?
Yeah, well, we know from the research. I don't know if there probably is research that could answer that question. I don't know a direct like yes or no for that, but I will say we know that women who exercise specifically to those three types of exercises I mentioned earlier, which is strength, HIIT, and plyo, we know that they're going to have a much better experience during perimenopause, that it is very protective, like
Why?
significantly protective.
Why?
One of it is bone density is going to decline. And so we're preserving that. We're preserving our muscle mass. We know exercise is key to enhancing serotonin levels as well. And we just talked about how serotonin is going to be affected. Exercise also allows sugar in your blood, glucose in your blood can get pulled into your cells via insulin. Insulin's like it attaches to it, it brings it into the cell. Well, when we exercise, we can actually skip that. There's receptors in the cell that then can just pull the glucose into them that are activated with exercise. So whenever we exercise, it also is really, really helpful for insulin sensitivity and issues that will start to pop up as those hormones change. I would beg to differ. There's probably some form of healthier in general when the endocrine system, which is our hormonal system, when that's in a more healthy functioning state, um, you're going to have an easier time during perimenopause. And there's things that we can do. Exercise is one of those key factors we all know is important for the body. Food, I would say, is probably more important for hormonal stability, like super important. Maybe more important than exercise, I would think. But that's a good question.
Yeah. My husband just told me that he recently read a study that the amount of muscle that you have in your thighs is directly correlated with your lifespan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, I got to beef
Wow.
up these thighs.
I mean, I could see it though. I mean, you can't go wrong with, the muscle on your body. Like I've said this before, but like think about it like an emergency fund, like your financial emergency fund. Shit hits the fan. Like hopefully you have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of what your expenses are so you can pull from it. And by the way, we should all have that. If you don't work on it, follow Dave Ramsey, like follow somebody who helps you get that. But I view myself as like the emergency fund for the human body. And so I'm trying to teach my patients to build up their muscle because if you do get really sick, like what if you get COVID, right? In the past, what if you had COVID? Um, what about when we have babies? Like every time we have babies, we lose so much muscle mass as women. It sucks. Gosh, like I still do not have the muscle mass I had before I had kids. And that's hard to swallow, but it just is what it is. Like I used to outlift all of the men around me for leg press and squats. And that is not the case anymore. Now I'm out there doing like what typical women are doing, and I'm like, darn it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I lost it. I could get it back if I wanted to. I just haven't really had motivation to get it back to that level. I just want functionality now in my life. Um, but yeah, like build up your muscles. It's your emergency fund. If you get hurt, which is gonna happen at some point, it'll save you. If you get hurt or sick, your body can pull from that in a beautiful way.
You
So
know, so so what I know about perimenopause and menopause, like the early years of it, is that women do also struggle psychologically. So there's physiological changes that women have a hard time with, and then there's psychological changes. Um, and exercise seems to be a protective factor for those as well. For oh my gosh, so many different reasons. I mean, I
yeah,
think it's very much tied into the physiological protective factors, but also like it gives women a piece of their life that's theirs and
yeah,
theirs only that they can do, that they can be proud of, that they have control over. You know, when
yeah,
you're facing menopause, wherever you are in that, 35 to 51, it might feel really out of control. Like you have no more control over like your lubrication, for example,
yeah,
or
yeah,
your body temperature, or, the things that you've typically had control over. So I think the exercise and the ability to control that schedule and whether or not you exercise also gives women a sense of like, I can control this about my
yeah.
body, at least.
That's really good point. It does give you a sense of control. It gives you a sense of control in that way, and then it also gives you a sense of control because you physically can do more. Um, like the other day, my daughter was acting like a crazy person. This is a common theme lately. But she's running in the parking lot and she doesn't want to go to school. And I put her down and I had put her down and she starts running around. And I went over and I scooped her up with one arm and I grabbed her and we went inside. And I can do that. Like I can carry both of my kids. When they're acting up, I'm able to physically grab them and put them in a safe spot until they're able to calm themselves down. And I'm able to do that with both of them. Like I've had times I was at the Y the other day and they were both acting absolutely insane, not listening, fighting over who gets to fill their water bottle up first. I want to flush the toilet. No, I want to flush the toilet. Then it was a fight over the sink and who gets to wash their hands. And there was a fight over the paper towels. And I was like, I'm done. We're done. We're leaving now. And they didn't want to leave. I scooped both of them up and I walked out of the Y and they were screaming and yelling. And people looked at me like I was crazy and I did not care. But I'm able to fit, like, gives me more control over how I can parent and how I'm able to navigate my household just because I can do that. And I think every time I'm doing that, I'm like, God, I have so many patients who can't do this. And I'm like, how would they handle the situation with their kids right now? Um, they would find a different way, but it's nice to be able to do that when I need to do it to keep them safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, that or like squatting to get like the dishes on the low cabinet. Like it's really any kind of day-to-day movement that you might need to access. It is
Yeah.
far easier when your muscles are conditioned.
Yeah. I have one patient who came to see me years ago that would you would kind of classify it as somebody who has like fibromyalgia. She had not been diagnosed with that, but very, very weak, was afraid, intense fear avoidance to work out because she always would flare when she worked out. And so I slowly got her working out again. We'll go over in a little bit like how to properly work out because there's a lot of you who go hardcore and you flare yourself, and that's not good either. Um, but anyways, she started off being able to work out. I call it my beginner program, and then now she's at my advanced program. So I have a beginner, a moderate, and an advanced program. And she's put on all this muscle mass. She's in her late 40s, I think. Um, well, the flood hit and her house flooded. And she came in and I was like, "How are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm so proud of myself. And she's like, I moved everything. She's like, I moved so many things. And she goes, I can't believe I didn't flare. Like in the past, I would have never even attempted to move those things. She's like, but I was able to do it. Like, so when like life throws stuff at you, because it's going to, and you have to physically be there to like handle the environment around you. If you don't have that muscle mass, it, oh, not only are you not gonna be able to do it, if you do it, you're gonna hurt yourself. Now you're gonna really be like in a state of pain while you're going through crisis. So exercise gives you so much control over your life. So that makes sense, especially because we're psychologically going through a lot during that time, how important it could be.
Okay, so back to the thing that you said to me that stuck with me for years. I imagine that even with consistent exercise, after 30 hits, you're still deconditioning, just less so.
You can kind of actually, nope, you can kind of actually keep it even kill
For
and you
how
can
long?
actually advance.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, you've seen 7-year olds who are just like ripped. Have you seen that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So your body is incredible in its ability to adapt and build muscle mass. It gets harder as we get older. So like around age 30, like it's not gonna be so like you don't really have to try hard when you're a teenager and a 20-year-old. Like you go to the gym, I would go to the gym, barely do anything, and I'd be ripped. Like I didn't have to try to like lose weight. I mean, oh my God, I looked phenomenal and I didn't even work for it. It was
I
amazing.
remember that time.
God, I'm like that. Gosh, just take advantage of that time frame because it goes away. So so now, like, I have to be really mindful about the amount of food I eat. I have to be really mindful about my exercise to be in a state of health. So no, you can build still. It's just more work and it's harder.
Yeah.
And there's a
Okay.
lot more responsibilities and things that will take you out. Like I used to play co-ed soccer. I just quit last year because one of the guys kicked me so hard. I had a stress fracture in my fibula after playing a game, and it was the last game of the season. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I broke my big toe. I broke my big toe dropping a food scale on it, like 2 months before this happened. So I just healed my big toe. If any of you guys have ever broke your big toe, you'll know like all of your balance, everything is on that. So I couldn't do a lot of my stuff. Just finally like weaned myself back into soccer, was doing great. And then he kicked me and it broke. I've played with men my whole life. I've never broken a bone before.
Hmm.
So like that, and then it took me a while to rehab from that. And then I had so much knee pain and issues because my foot was not dorsiflexing well. Like I had all these issues, and in the past, I played way more aggressive than that, way more intense, never got hurt. So now I'm not playing co-ed soccer anymore. I'm actually afraid to do it because I'm like realize with men, I'm not going to play with men anymore. I feel weaker. I feel so much weaker than men now than I did in the past
Mhm.
because I am.
Well, like what you said, like women start declining and men stay consistent. There was this hilarious TikTok that I watched recently. I'm not going to do it justice, but she was saying that, come 35, come like the perimenopausal time, like you're just going to have to like try to figure out what works, and nobody knows. Like there's no answer, but your husband, the same thing will work for your husband
Oh my
consistently, like
God.
every single day, and he'll keep looking gorgeous, and his body will still be perfect, and yours yours will just be a mystery. It'll be
I
all
know. I get so mad because I've actually stopped drinking completely. Like I don't drink alcohol anymore because I'm like, that's a lot of calories. And it does make it hard to lose weight. And I'm really intentional about how many calories I'm eating. And my husband will just drink and eat whatever he wants. I mean, whatever he wants. And then he's like, oh man, I lost weight. And I'm like, I hate you. I know, but I'm like, I have to work so hard to just maintain my body weight. And I was like, you just get to do whatever. So that's been hard because in the past, him and I could eat and drink and do whatever equally. Like it didn't affect us. And now I'm seeing such a vast difference in the lifestyle changes and sacrifices I have had to make that he has not had to make. And he didn't have to make two babies. Like you had three babies your body made. I
yeah.
had two babies. So like that's another thing. It's okay because I'm like, how cool that my body can make another human life. Like I'll go through it. Like I think it's incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
But having in your face, like your partner in your face, just being able to do whatever they want and not give me, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, it is. It is a little tricky, especially because you can't commiserate like about diets or working out because he still has this perfect little body.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm thankful he has a cute little body because I love looking at it, but
You were talking about like the right and wrong ways to work out. I'm curious to hear more about that.
Okay, so you know how you had mentioned your how sore you are, how you're
Yeah.
like so sore. So I don't like to have anybody work out and be so sore. So
Mhm.
there's a rule I use, and it is this is research based, but I'm going to kind of say it in how I say it to my patients, which is very dumbed down. And if you follow these rules, I promise you, you will not flare over and over again with working out. I promise you, you will have more success. Most people don't know how to do this. Most people will go to the gym and do whatever they want. They go work with a personal trainer and they do too much too soon and they do that over underdoing pattern. And I also promise you, if you continue to do that, you will actually decondition. So there's a right way to work your body out. There's a rule of five that I give my patients when they come in. And I'm going to go over it with you right now. So, zero is it is not on my awareness at all. It might be an input your body is receiving, but you're not aware of it. So, an example I would give is like, do you feel your wedding ring? Now that I'm like bringing your attention, do you feel your wedding ring on? Do you feel that you have shoes on? Like your brain wasn't focused on it before, but do you feel that you have shoes on or do you feel your glasses? So, that's a zero. So, it's an input that's there, but your brain's not actively aware of it. A one is I'm aware of it, and it's maybe a little bit annoying, but it doesn't bother me. So one would be like you just put a new watch on or a new glasses on, or you just got like some teeth work done, and you can feel it like you're kind of constant. It's on the awareness, and it's annoying, but doesn't bother you. Two is that's bothersome. It's very much on my awareness, and it's bothering me the sensation, whatever it is. Three is that's extremely bothersome. I really don't like this at all, but it's not pain. So three is like a hamstring stretch feeling. So like I can go in that hamstring stretch and it really sucks. But you're like, I can hold this for a minute, but I'm excited for it to stop. That's a three. Four is pain. That's like now I push the hamstring further and I'm like actually in pain. The brain says, I don't want this stimuli to happen anymore. And then five is a zinger. That's like that sharp shooting, like, whoa, catch you off guard pain. So, where everybody wants to be when you're challenging the body, you always want to be at a three. Just so you guys know, like three is the magic number. Four, if you're going to pain, you are deconditioning yourself, believe it or not. It's too aggressive for the human body. And especially with women, we have to be more careful because estrogen is so tied to inflammation. And because we're losing estrogen, inflammation can kind of get out of control. That's why strength, hit, and plyo are the three best, is because it actually allows our body to naturally make more anti-inflammatory proteins that help us out because it's so aggressive. The strength training, the hit, the plyo is so aggressive. It turns that genetic protein to express itself. When we do something more moderate like cardio, we don't get that intensity and we typically don't get that help out. And so then we just kind of have a lot of inflammation and the body doesn't like that either. Um,
So Molly, a question about what you just
yeah,
said.
yeah,
Okay, so when I first started, so 3 weeks ago, the workout was about a three, right? But then
perfect.
the 2 days afterwards were definitely like a four.
Yeah, I knew that. When you told me that, I knew it.
So
Yeah.
what are you specifically talking about? Like you want to keep the workout at a three, or you want to be like, okay, well, I don't want to be at a four tomorrow or the next day.
I'm so happy you asked that because I was going to get into that exact example.
Okay.
So, here's something that you all really need to understand about the human body. The human body sucks at telling you when you've overdone what your tissues can handle. And when I
Hmm.
say tissues, I'm talking about your muscles, your bones, your ligaments, your tendons, your nerves. Those are all different types of tissues. So, I want you to think about your body like a bunch of different types of tissues, and it has a certain amount that it can handle. And by the way, it's constantly deconditioning around age 30. Okay. So if you haven't been strength training, like whatever you used to be able to do, like I don't care. Like that's not your current body. It changes
Yeah.
rapidly. We decondition rapidly. In 1 month, if we stop working out, you are deconditioning. It takes so much work to build the body up, and it is so quick and so fast to just shred the human body. And that's how physics of the world is. The law of entropy, like it takes a lot to build something and it is very quick to decondition. So, anyways, um, your bodies are suck. Our bodies suck at telling us when we're overdoing our tissue tolerance in the moment. And so there's what you always look for. There's rules I have so I can teach my patients to understand what's happening with their body. If the next day you are flared, you overdid it. So what is a flare? A flare is 2 points higher. If we use a 10 scale now, we'll go back to like a 10 scale of pain that we all know about. If I've been at a zero, like because you were at a zero before you started working out, no pain.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were at a zero. So then if you are at a three or higher
Mhm.
in the next 3 days ish, you flared yourself. That was too aggressive for your body. So if you were like a two or under, though, I'm okay with that. That means you edged it. That's right at the edge point. So that's the rule is 2 points higher. But let's pretend I'm somebody who's in chronic pain and I'm naturally sitting around like a 3 or 4 out of 5 pain. Sorry, a 3 or 4 out of 10 scale. That's my natural baseline. That's what I call that when I work with people. So I'm always establishing, okay, what's your baseline? Well, for them, I'm okay. If I'm sitting at about a 3, 4, I'm okay as long as they're a 6 or under. That's how I know what I'm doing with them is staying at an edge point. Now, if they come in and they've been at like a 7 the next 48 hours after what I've done with them or after a workout, that's too aggressive. It's a flare. Now we're over underdoing. So you can't go off of just what you're doing in the moment because your body lies to you.
Yeah.
And we'll push ourselves. And the next day we're like, whoa. So what do you think you were the first time? Do you think you flared or do you think you hit your edge point?
Oh, no, no, no. I absolutely flared, but it felt so good, like getting
I
back into
know.
lifting weights that I was like, oh, yeah, I can do this. And then I
I
realized
know.
I overdid it the next day when
Yeah.
I was having a hard time getting up the stairs.
Yeah. So be really intense. So that's the thing is like don't try to not do that anymore. So it feels really good. So if we follow like the way it feels, we're gonna fail every time. So that's where we have to like use that prefrontal cortex, our logical thinking of when was the last time I worked out? If it's been a long time, I need to do honest to God, guys, do half of what you think you can do, and you'll probably be safe.
Yeah. No, that's a great rule.
That's what I do because all the time, even me knowing this rule, I sometimes will flare myself because of honestly ego. I'm gonna be totally honest, it's ego I get in the class. And I see all these women who are like older than me doing more weight than me. And I'm like, oh, I can do it. And I know I'm like, I'm probably gonna flare myself. And the next day I'm like, yeah, yeah, I flared myself. Like I'm just, it's ego. It
Mhm.
is, and it's not accepting our body where it currently is. We like to think about our body back like how it used to be when it was the best shape it was. And it's like, no, all of us women who have had kids, like, oh my God, your postpartum body isn't even close, not even close to what you were right before you got pregnant. Like, I don't even care what you were doing before you were pregnant. I don't even care because you're a whole new body. It makes a difference in how I do my plan of care, depending on what females were doing beforehand, but you still are a whole new body.
Yeah.
So does that help a little bit?
Yeah, it definitely. Um, I think it's so important for so many different reasons. I mean, you outlined the physiological reasons, and there are so many psychological reasons that I think we all innately know. Like when we move our body, we tend to be happier or more content or more motivated. And there's so much academic research backing up both the physiological
Yeah.
benefits and the psychological benefits of moving your body. It doesn't necessarily need to be anything crazy, but what I consistently get from you, Molly, and my husband, who has a degree in this also, is that weight training is so important for
Mhm.
women who are facing perimenopause or menopause because of the bone density issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so unfortunately, it can't just be cardio, even though that feels really good and it makes
Yeah.
us, feel healthier day to day. It has to be some component of weightlifting as
Yeah. If
well.
you're gonna pick only one thing to do, pick strength training. If you can do two different things, pick strength training and pick yoga, honestly, or something like a yoga class. Like YMCA has a class called Body Balance, and it's a mix of Tai Chi, yoga, and Pilates, and I freaking love it. I do that once or twice a week, and I do strength training twice a week. That's my protocol that I personally follow. Um, you got to have both. You got to have both of those. And then if you can add more variety in, like, okay, cool, then add in the cardio. What I've been doing now on my yoga days is I've been doing the rower for 10 minutes. I'm going to start alternating between that and the treadmill, and then I'll go and get some additional leg strength training in because I do a class called Body Pump at the Y, which is amazing, by the way, but it's low weight, high reps, which I'm not used to doing. So I do like lifting heavy weights. So now I'm going on my yoga days. I'll go do 10 minutes of some cardio, and then I've been doing the back extension, I've been doing squats, and I've been doing an alternation between lunges and deadlifts, but with heavy, heavy weights. For me, that's been something that I like to do. So you guys can play around with it. The last thing I'm going to say is the biggest struggle that people have with exercise, the biggest thing is flaring themselves. So I just talked about how do you not flare yourself. And then this first most important thing is accountability. It is a lack of being accountable to yourself and creating the habit. And that's okay. Like we all struggle at this. So stop telling yourself you're going to do it. If you've been saying I'm going to work out and you haven't, then just understand like you can't do it on your own. Like just accept that that's okay. But have acceptance of it. And then the second thing I would love for you all to do then is go and force yourself to be accountable. And that's what I do. So I have not been able to after the flood happened, I was doing a solid bomb workout routine that I created for myself at the Y, and I was self accountable for it. But when I flooded with the hurricanes, I could not force myself to do it anymore. So then now I'm going to the classes at the Y at set times. So that's my forced accountability that I'm doing now. So join classes if you need to join a class, but don't overdo it. Classes I hate in the beginning when people haven't worked out because they tend to overdo it because they're watching other people. So just do 50%, just do less. Like always do less. If you're moving your body, you're already won. Like don't do so much because then you're gonna underdo and then you're hurting yourself too. So just go move your body and do as little as you feel you can the first time and just see how your body feels the next day. You're experimenting. Like you don't know if you haven't been working out. You really don't know. Don't even think you know because you don't know. um, but force accountability, you can hire a personal trainer, you can get a workout buddy, like whatever you need to do, force yourself to have accountability or you will continue to fail and not build this habit. And once you get the habit going, you'll be shocked at how easy it is to keep it going. But give yourselves a good 2 months of like structured forced accountability. Maybe you hire a personal trainer just for 2 months and then you take over from there. Katie has a community. I have like a little community at the Y. We know people who consistently work out, do workouts that they find fun. So don't do something you don't find fun or you're not going to stick with it. So make sure it's fun, and having community is a huge part for us to want to continue to go forward with what we're doing. So those are kind of my strategies to help force yourself to move because our bodies are designed, last thing is just like our bodies are designed to store fat and they're designed to be as lazy as possible because the human body doesn't want to move. It doesn't want to use energy it doesn't have to do. But we are now in a society where we can have food whenever we want, delivered to our house, like anywhere and everything. We don't have to try for our food. And we're also in a society where you don't have to move really. Like you really don't. So we are in a society that our body created, like humans created, because this is really what makes the human body thrive. But unfortunately, we're so privileged now that now we have so much food and no need to move that we're actually harming ourselves because the human body was never designed to be in that privileged of an environment. So you have to force yourself to move. I have plants everywhere in my house, so I have to go water them. Sometimes I don't want to. I have chickens that I got to go take care of. I have a dog. I have all these things that I put around me to force me to move. And I tell people all the time, like, they're like, I don't want to get a dog. I'm like, go get a dog because now I know you're going to go walk your dog. It's like
Mhm.
force accountability on yourself to move.
Absolutely.
Or pay the consequences of being weak and deconditioned. Those are the only choices in the human body we're given.
And facing all of the negatives of menopause,
Oh, yeah.
which
Oh
none of us
God.
want to do.
Oh my God. Once I go through that time frame in my life, I feel like I'm going to be really good at educating women at that point.
Yeah.
Well, this was a good topic. I'm happy we went over this.
Yeah.
Any last things you want to say, Katie?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay, guys, thank you all for listening. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you at next episode with something fun to talk about. Send us any questions, emails on topics you want us to cover, please. We would love to hear from you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye. We are Dr. Molly Hart and Dr. Katie Schubert, and you've been listening to Sex on the Floor podcast. We really hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions and want to get in contact with us, you can follow us on Instagram at Dr. Molly Hart and at Dr. Katie Schubert. on Facebook at Pelvic Balance PT and at Dr. Katie Schubert. And for more information about us on our websites, you can find us at pelvicbalancept.com and at drkatieschubert.com.